Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Joshana here to talk about some friggin' books. And today I'm gonna be doing a little recent wrap-up, including a book that I completely fucking forgot to talk about the last time I did a wrap-up. It was like one of my favorite books of the year. Little reminder that the easiest way to show support if you like me and what I do on this channel is to like and comment and subscribe if you haven't already. Another way is to check out the little link tree that I have down below in the description bar and to utilize the affiliate links if you maybe have some books that you want to get from Books A Million, bookshop.org, Book Depository, or books from Amazon or other items from Amazon that I have on my little storefront. You get stuff that you already want and I get a little 5 to 10% commission. Okay, pitch portion out of the way. Let's get into the video. So the one that I forgot to talk about was Jade Legacy. Oops. Like I said, I did a whole fucking in-depth review of it, an individual review of it. And I think I forgot too because I didn't have a copy of it at the time, so it was like out of sight, out of mind. But yeah, I read this. This is book 3 of the Greenbone Saga. I read this in December, right? Yeah. I'll be pretty brief with this. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the plot a whole hell of a lot. I will say that I ended up giving this one 4.5 Pushinicorns because not 5, simply because the pacing, this book covers 20 years in this world, and I felt like I would have enjoyed it more if that had been broken out into like more books, because we do get introduced in this book. You know, the title kind of implies like the legacy, and it's all about family. So we get introduced to like the newer generation, and we do get to know them a little bit, but we are skipping forward so much that we don't get to know them that well. And like the point of the series is the original 3 siblings that we're following that we meet in Jade City. But like then we get to know these other characters too, and it's like I wanted to know them more, but I wasn't really able to. And the way that she did like the time jumps so frequently and such gigantic time jumps, it wasn't like bad. I didn't hate it, but it did feel a little bit like I'm watching a movie and someone else is like skipping forward like for 40 minutes of the movie, and I'm all of a sudden like, oh, okay, I just missed like a lot of stuff. Like, how do we get here? She explains it and everything, and it's like I said, it's not like the worst thing, but I just would have preferred it to be a little different. So that's why I gave this 4.5 and not a higher rating. But it was very emotional. I cried several times. I posted on Instagram the one day when I was just sobbing, like full on crying. Fonda Lee knows how to just like fucking gut you like real quick. I felt like it was a great conclusion still to the series. The final scene, surprisingly, I loved. Like, if you've read it, you understand why I say it's surprising. I loved that final scene. I thought it was so fucking good. I could see it like in a movie, like I could see it in my mind's eye, like the way she was describing it and everything, and it was just so emotional and like heartwarming and just, yeah, so good. So really loved it. Not 5 stars though. And then up next, a nonfiction. I also read this in December, How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. So again, this is nonfiction, and it's kind of part memoir. It is a guide to help readers see all forms of racism clearly, understand their poisonous consequences, and work to oppose them in our systems and in ourselves. That's like the blurb about it. So I felt like the writing style here was very approachable and very honest and transparent. I say it's like part memoir because it's basically Ibram X. Kendi's journey to figuring all these things out himself. And he's being very open and honest about his own shortcomings in the past, his own racist thoughts, sexist, homophobic, like all these different beliefs and prejudices that he had on certain levels. And I just feel like that made it really, really approachable. Because he's not trying to be like, I am the expert because I'm just a perfect human being. He's being like, I'm telling you this because I've been through it myself and I've worked through these thoughts and feelings and beliefs myself. And like, here's how I was wrong in the past and why I was wrong and the things I came to realize from all these various sources. And then my interest in this, I would say my interest was definitely kept. I felt like it was very engaging. There were a few sections where the concept being discussed wasn't necessarily a totally new concept to me. So there's like a couple times where maybe I was like skimming slightly. Another kind of criteria I use to review nonfiction is, was this new and or profound information? And I would say, yes, there were definitely some new and some nuanced perspectives in here that maybe I hadn't thought of before or hadn't thought of in this way and hadn't heard fleshed out like this. I've heard, countless people on social media. I've seen countless discussions on social media of people saying how, people of color, Black people specifically, cannot be racist toward white people, right? Like the concept of racism being like this systemic oppression. Like you could be prejudiced toward a white person if you are Black, but you cannot be racist toward a white person. And Ibram X. Kendi is saying, no, yeah, you can. You can be racist toward, if you're Black, you can be racist toward Black people. You can be racist toward white people. You can be racist toward anybody. Like this is my definition of racism. And so yes, you can be. And whether you agree or disagree, I just felt like the way he was fleshing it out, and like I said, it was a new perspective or a nuanced perspective on it. Again, I'm sure not everyone is going to agree with what he says, and I don't know necessarily where I fall on that, but I think there was like a lot of truth to what he was saying and a lot of like just common sense, and like I understood why he was saying this. I understood his point he was making, And then the other criteria that I use is like, was this successful in the message it was trying to convey? And I would say yes, definitely. I think basically everybody should read this book. There are plenty of books that are like not for everyone. I think this is a book that is probably for everyone. But yeah, highly recommend. And I also did get the journal that goes along with it. And I started that. I haven't gone through it all the way yet. It's just kind of going to be something I'll go through over time. I'm not like putting a deadline. I'm like, I need to finish this journal. But it's just kind of like a companion journal to this book. I ended up giving this 4.5 Pushinicorns. Next up is a book that I just put on my like 22 books to read in 2022. It was on my like reading challenge and everything just because, I don't know, I've heard such great things about it. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but I was just like, I want to try it out. I have a physical copy of it. I need to get it off my shelves one way or the other. And that is Transcendent Kingdom. Ow, Jesus Christ. Transcendent Kingdom by Yaa Gyasi. It's pretty short. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it because of the premise. I'll read something to you. It's about a Ghanaian family in the contemporary South, at once a profound story about race in America and an astonishingly intimate portrait of a young woman reckoning spiritually and intellectually with a legacy of unmanageable loss. So we have the main character, Gifty, who is a sixth-year PhD candidate in neuroscience at Stanford, and she's studying reward-seeking behavior in mice and the neural circuits of depression and addiction. Her brother, Nana, was a gifted high school athlete who died of a heroin overdose after an ankle injury left him hooked on OxyContin. Suicidal mother is living in her bed. Gifty is determined to discover the scientific basis for the suffering she sees all around her. Blah, blah, blah. She finds herself hungering for her childhood faith and grappling with the evangelical church in which she was raised, whose promise of salvation remains as tantalizing as it is elusive. Blah, 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 right? I got 22% into this. I was listening to the audiobook, and I quite enjoyed the audiobook, like the narration and everything. Yeah, I got 22% in, and I DNF'd because I completely understand why this is praised, and I get why a lot of people really enjoy it. And I would recommend it to anyone who enjoys kind of reflective, meandering, literary, contemporary fiction. But it just is not for me. I've realized reading about someone's like meandering train of thought, philosophizing about life and family and how XYZ is a metaphor for this other thing and for our existence as humans, blah, 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 blah. It just doesn't resonate with me or strike me profoundly. And in talking with friends, I think I realized that like I've never been someone to experience like feeling like existential crisis or existential dread and what does it mean to be a human, and like what happens after we die, and what is our purpose here. It's just not me. I've never felt that way, really. No, I'm just kind of like, I'm here for a good time, not for a long time. Like, we have our little lifespan, and my belief is that we just die. I don't know. I say I'm like agnostic / atheist, because I don't necessarily believe that there's any afterlife or any higher power, but I also don't know. So that's where like the agnostic comes in. But it doesn't like freak me out. It doesn't stress me out. It doesn't bother me. I'm just like, I'm here to live my life and try to like make people happy, I guess, and like leave a positive impact on the people and the world around me as much as I can. So when a book is just like one big kind of existential crisis and someone just being so deep and profound, and the way it was just like, it wasn't like one chapter is the present time, and then the next chapter is her at work, and then the next chapter is like flashback to when she was a kid. It's just like all within. It's like, oh, I'm at work and I'm studying these mice, and it made me think of this other thing, and it made me think of my mom, and my mom is sitting there and she's doing this and she's depressed, and then it reminded me of my brother when we were kids and we would play around and do this thing, and then my brother died, and like now I'm thinking about that. It's just this like train of thought thing. Again, get why a lot of people would enjoy it and like this, just not for me. So that was my first DNF of the year, and then I finally picked up The Riyria Revelations, Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. I was not sure how I was going to read these. I've talked about this so fucking much, but because I've already read the Legends of the First Empire series, but I decided to read the Riyria books in the order that they were published, with Theft of Swords and the Riyria Revelations, and then going to Chronicles. And then I'll go to Nolan. So I'm reading them all fucking crazy. It's fine. It's whatever. I really, though, like, if you haven't read any Michael J. Sullivan, I think it's really fun reading it how I read it, with reading the Legends of the First Empire series first. Because reading this, oh my god, there's so many. They talk about the lore and the legends and the, like, mythology of their world and the gods and, like, who the gods are and who the gods are to each other. They talk about it a lot. And, like, events that happened, like, in the Empire. Like, ooh, the Empire this, and, like, this is how the Empire came to be. But that's what the Legends of the First Empire series is. You are learning how the Empire came to be. And so you know the truth. And so then reading in here, like, 3,000 years later, what these people believe, and they're so wrong. They have so much shit wrong, where you're like, what? People in history that have been erased entirely, and like other people are getting credit for things that these other people did that you know about from this series, and you're just like, oh my god, that's not who did that at all. What? And sometimes it made me like fucking emotional. There were some things referenced, like just a brief mention of like the bridge at Avanpartha, where I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna cry. Like, I got very emotional. And yeah, someone getting credit for what happened at the bridge, where just whatever. Anyway, I don't want to spoil stuff for the Legend series. I just think it's really fun having read that first. Anyway, I really enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun. Royce and Hadrian, almost immediately upon meeting them, I was like, I love them. I love them so much. Michael J. Sullivan is so good at writing characters that you love. So good at it. Oh my god. Like, I get so invested in what's going on with these characters. The tone and like vibe of the Riyria books is pretty different from the Legends. That is more like epic fantasy. Whereas here, it's basically Royce and Hadrian. There are side characters, of course, that do play really important roles, but like they are the main ones that the plot is like focusing around. And it's kind of more like, especially in this first book, I am almost done with the second one now, but like especially in this first book, it's a lot more of like silly thief stuff, or like, and not necessarily always silly. There is something really silly that happens in the plot. Alan and I were talking about this, where he's like, this is that's so stupid, but like it was fun though. The fucking tower trap thing makes literally no sense, but it's whatever. But it's just fun. Like, it's a really fun time, right? And it does, as it goes on, you're like learning more about the politics of the world and like bigger implications. But I think too, the only reason not the only reason, but I think a big reason that I'm seeing these like way larger implications is because I know some things from the Legends books. I'm rambling and like all over the place. I really enjoyed this though. I really, really enjoyed this. I ended up giving it 4.5 Pusheenacorns. Not quite 5, but yeah, really, really fun. Like lots of oh shit moments, like oh my god. And several of these are like, wait, oh shit, is this something from Legends that I know? I think it is. And then an adult historical fiction that I buddy read with Monet over at Life as Monet. Or is it Monet? No, that's her Instagram now, is Monet Reads. Yeah, we buddy read this, The Women of Chateau Lafayette by Stephanie Dre. So this came about just because I had been talking about in my like goals video, I think, that I want to read even more historical fiction. And Monet was like, oh, me too. I want to do that too. We should buddy read some. I was like, fuck yeah. And then she just sent me this one and was like, hey, have you seen this? Like, I just bought it. Like, I want to read this. And I was like, fuck it, I'll buy it. So I knew nothing about it really, other than a brief like synopsis I saw that it was like World War II type stuff and a couple different women. So yeah, it is 3 time periods, 3 different huge wars, and 3 different women that we are following. And these women help change the world, some small ways and some really, really large ways. And it's kind of a story about unsung heroes in history, particularly women who have been a bit forgotten in history. So yeah, these women, 2 of them are real women in history, and much of what is in the book is stuff that actually happened to them or things they actually did. Certain liberties were taken. In the author's note at the end, she kind of explains like what things were changed and why. But yeah, 2 of the women, for the most part, like this is just their story with slight tweaks. One of them, the one that is set in World War II time, she's a character made up based on other women, other people of the time in this little village that she's in. So she is a fabrication, but some of the stuff she does and the things happening around her are real things that did happen. And I loved all 3 of these women so much. Oh my God. Like, they all had such distinct voices, and I love that. I related to Beatrice quite a bit. Not always, but just I saw a lot in Beatrice that, yeah, just spoke to my soul. Adrienne is like a fucking saint of a woman. Like, genuinely, I admired her so much. And then Martha, the character that is made up, like, I appreciated her, and her journey, like her character arc, was so great. Like, seeing her grow and kind of come into her own, it was top notch. They all were very different in their actual personalities, like very different types of women, right? Like very different personality traits, generally speaking, but so very alike in just their sheer force of will and absolute bravery. Like, just incredibly brave, stepping up to the plate when needed without really a moment's thought about it. And yeah, just very, very admirable. For the pacing and whatnot, there were definitely a couple, like literally like maybe 2 or 3 places where it was a little slower. The action was lulling a little bit, but I didn't necessarily mind it. It wasn't like bothering me, I guess, because I was still engaged with the characters and what was going on with them, you know? So yeah, this was very enjoyable. I love the characters. I love seeing like what happened with them and the relationships they have. I don't want to talk too much and like start giving spoilers, but yeah, there were just some great things. There were some relationships in here that are the fucking cutest shit. Oh my God, the most precious, loving, devoted. Ugh. I love it. I love it so much. And I really liked how things ended with each of the characters. One was kind of sad, but I still appreciated how it was written and everything. And yeah, it was just really great. I've gone back and forth between giving this 5 or 4.75 because I'm like, I don't want to be so stingy with 5 stars. Because it was really good, but like there were a couple pacing times where I was like, meh. But, like, I really liked it. So I'm like, is it 5? And I think I need to stop, especially with historical fiction. being like, but it's not City of Girls, because like I love that so much. Like that book is like me, you know? So five Pacinicorns. We're gonna go with 5. It was really, really good. Really engaged. I mean, for being as fucking thick as it is too, like it was really, really solid. So 5 Pacinicorns. Yes, that is my final answer. And it was really fun buddy reading it with Monet. We had some good chats about it. And okay, there we are. I'm almost done with Rise of Empire, book 2 in the Rhaeria Revelations, but I'm not quite done yet. Might finish it today, I don't know. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.